So John, welcome to the National World War II Museum. Today we'll get a chance to talk about your uncle, Fred Harrison. Previously you'd mentioned the family was looking at the family tree and they had, this entry, killed in World War II, kind of question mark next to him. And, maybe give us a sense of what do you know about your uncle?
So there was a lot of mystery about my uncle growing up. My grandparents had a very hard time with Fred being killed in action and not knowing exactly where he was. There were never any remains returned. They were pretty much erased him from the family legacy. There was never any mention of him. What I did know about Fred was that he was an avid fisherman. So when I went fishing with my dad, I heard a few stories about Fred.
What do you think he did in the war?
He flew.
Okay.
I don't know what his MO was on the plane, but I knew he was on a plane.
Okay.
The plane went down, but I'm not sure if it was the European theater or if it was the Asian theater.
Yeah.
So very vague on all of those details.
Okay. I think our task here is to bring to life Fred's service as much as we can, and I think you're going to be amazed by it. His record is one of the ones that's burned in the archives fire, unfortunately, and so kind of had to sleuth even farther. How do we recreate, his experience in a way? We'll start out. He's not in the European theater at all.
Okay.
He's on a B-24 bomber, 4-engine bomber. We'll talk about that in a minute. He's a navigator, and he's assigned in the Pacific. And you have no idea where in the Pacific?
Correct.
Okay. Give you kind of an orientation. Australia, New Guinea, Philippines, and the Netherlands, East Indies, with Japan farther north. And then...
let me ask you, was he Army or Navy or Air Force? Here we go.
He is Army Air Corps. Army Air Forces are part of the Army. And then after the war, they'll break off and become an independent service. And so he's going to join the 307th Heavy Bombardment Group. He's on a B-24J Liberator, 10, 11 on the crew, depending upon the mission. But the navigator really plays a key role in the Pacific because of distance and, the really discrete nature of the targets if you're targeting this little island. And so the 307th Bomb Group, they earned the name of being the Long Rangers because they had particularly long missions that they would go on. He's going to join a crew on the 19th of June. These airmen all join this squadron, the 372nd, which is one of the squadrons in the 307 Bomb Group. Mm-hmm. And there he is, Second Lieutenant Fred Harrison. There's his service number. And he's joined with these other guys. Sergeant Robert Podwells, Corporal Roy Hunan, Lieutenant Tomes, and then, down here, Corporal Thomas Wong. We'll talk about him in a minute. But these guys will stay together for an incredible number of missions and will serve with them, literally the rest of his life. Imagine, though, you're in this jungle Air Force. What are you doing? What do you think the kind of missions that they're called upon?
Well, I would imagine that they would have intel that would tell them where the enemy is gathering.
Yeah.
And then they would go try to eliminate the enemy through carpet bombing, right?
What's interesting in the South Pacific, you think about how do I avoid Japanese strength, neutralize certain positions, and then bypass them. So the air becomes super critical, but also, in addition, they're going to attack Japanese convoys, shipping, all the things that would resupply these garrisons. So not only is it super long range, but it might be very precise. Here's an airfield that the enemy's using, or here's a port facility, or here's these ships coming in that we need to attack. Maybe if you're over Europe, you can say, well, there's the Rhine River. Right. And now I've found, this city. Imagine over the Pacific, you have a slightly different challenge because you're over water.
Right.
The first mission they go on the 3rd of July, they've got a mission out to Yap Island. So initially he's assigned, it's a small island called Los Negros. It's in the Admiralties, which is between the Central Pacific and the South Pacific. And it'll set up the kind of island hopping and then the campaign along New Guinea here.
A lot of open water.
It's a lot of open water. It's also 1,500 miles to hit that target and come back. So as the navigator, Imagine, what would throw you off on your navigation to get to that island.
Right.
But the other challenge, though, is you're not just flying, you're not just taking a trip, you've got an enemy there.
Right.
And so this is part of the excerpt of their first mission. They've got 16 1,000-pound bombs they're supposed to put on this airfield at Yap. And then in the process, they're attacked by 16 Japanese fighters. And the way, welcome to the bomb group.
So did these guys fly in a group of bombers? And did they have an escort of fighter planes, or were they just out there with their own munitions, whatever they had on top of their aircraft?
So in this case, this is just 16 aircraft in formation flying out there. With the massive long range, you're past the range of your fighter escorts in almost all cases. Yeah, it's hard for us to imagine.
Right.
You're flying 800 nautical miles just to find this little speck, hit it, while, of course, the enemy's fighting back at you along the way. As they go forward, they're going to have a series of missions where they're going to support MacArthur's return to the Philippines. And so they'll go into the southern Philippines or into the Celebes to interdict shipping, really break up Japanese reinforcements coming into the Philippines, and really contribute to that liberation campaign. And then this is another record, from the squadron, 24 missions that month.
Wow.
And so this is a pretty relentless campaign. Fortunately here, that they report they've destroyed, 5 enemy aircraft, damaged another 27 enemy aircraft, some in the air and some on the ground. So you're also, attacking these airfields.
What I think is an interesting statistic is right here. Aircraft dispatched, 124. Aircraft to reach the target, 119. So they're losing aircraft.
Yeah, they might have an engine problem and they'll turn back. They might have to, ditch or something like that. So imagine you're operating in pretty austere environment. Even the maintainers trying to keep these aircraft going.
Right. Pretty amazing.
It is. So let's talk about their last mission.
Okay.
So that crew flies 18 missions together. On the 19th mission, they have another pilot, and they'll have the deputy group commander join the crew. And so this last mission, they've moved into Morotai, which is, an example where you've taken one of these enemy airstrips. It's pretty heavily contested, but Morotai is ultimately where MacArthur's advanced headquarters will move in as they move up to the Philippines. So they're going to take off on 10 December 1944 on a night mission. They'll take off at 0100, so 1 in the morning. 12 minutes later, this Air Corps intelligence officer is going to observe this explosion. He says, I was standing at the shore looking west, listening to our planes take off. At approximately 0112, a large fire with high rising flames suddenly appeared near the top of the mountains west of Patoe Airdrome on the north finger of Halmahera Island. As the flames died down, I heard the rumble of an explosion from the direction of the fire. The plane itself has 15 100-pound bombs on it, and is also carrying just over 3,000 gallons of aviation fuel. When it hits the mountain, you could see why there would be a pretty tremendous explosion.
So we don't know if they flew into the mountain or if they were shot down or if it was engine failure.
It could be engine failure. There's no reports of enemy fire from there at the time, but frankly, I think that'll be unknown. They had an initial search of the area afterwards, and the initial reports, we can't find the crash.
So Mike, what was the scope of the mission?
This mission's a night mission where they're going to interdict an enemy airfield down on Halmahera, so which would, take away the Japanese ability to interdict our airfield in Morotai and then our operations there. So the plane's lost. They can't find it initially, but eventually it's found. This is actually a letter, the Memorial Division, so from the War Department, where it says, we're going to tell you how Fred Harrison and members of his crew were identified. Fast forward now, January 1948, a member of our American Grace Registration search and recovery teams arrived in Halmahera, where they're presented with a box containing the remains of undetermined number of crew members of aircraft with tail number that matched the one your uncle's on. And these remains were recovered by natives from another town from the mountains on the north finger of Halmahera. Now, you kind of go, what's going on? You know, the natives had kind of went into hiding during the operations, but the tribe returned and then say, you know, the party of natives participating in a deer hunt found the wrecked plane and an identification tag that had your uncle's name on it. So this is where they identify that, you know, yes, this is his plane, he's on it with that. Did you ever realize that your uncle's remains were identified? I mean, here they've identified and recovered the wreckage. They have the dog tags with his name on it.
Yeah, I really had no idea. I thought he was just MIA. And because my grandparents never really talked about it, I never really knew that there was any kind of remains found.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, considering how many years had passed and the location of the accident.
Their final interment is going to be in Louisville, Kentucky, at the Zachary Taylor National Military Cemetery.
Right. So why Louisville?
Well, you know, you didn't know they're in Louisville, did you?
No, did not.
The idea was they're going to bring together those commingled remains in a place that's equidistant for the crew, so it'd be centrally located for the families. And in this case, you know, the National Cemetery in Louisville. And so, you know, this is the picture of the gravestone there in Louisville.
It's amazing.
It's kind of neat that the folks who all served together,
right,
you know, continue through eternity together.
To be together.
Yeah,
that's pretty neat. I didn't realize that the Army did that.
And so here they are.
Oh, look at that crew.
I believe this is your Uncle Fred. If we think of his earlier photo, sure looks like Uncle Fred, doesn't it?
Sure does. So the work these men were doing were allowing American forces to advance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, these guys are heroes.
I'll agree with that. That's pretty cool. Yep, your Uncle Fred, his teammates. If you're inspired by Uncle Fred now, you're going to be more inspired as this adventure continues. So, you know, we left the archival reading room. Now we're over in the museum. Busy day here at the museum. We've got school field trips. We've got some amazing stuff for them to see and also the public. But, you know, we're here with our B-24. And I know you said you've been to the museum before, but I don't think you've ever really appreciated that, you know, this is what your uncle was in.
Right. I got a chance to look at this while we were setting up, and it's pretty amazing how small the area is and the level of technology that they were dealing with to complete the missions that they were able to do.
Yeah, so you figure right up front, for some missions, the navigator would be up front and then the bombardier take over. Some missions, the navigator serves as the bombardier as well. He could also be up top. There's a little window up there if he has to do celestial navigation. If you're going 900 miles over water at night, you don't have a lot to refer to and might be looking for the stars and other things like that. So his navigation skills really come into play. Now remember we talked about some of the folks on the crew.
Yes.
You know, it's pretty incredible here. And, you know, thanks to the 307th Bomb Group Association, you know, one of the pieces here is we can find archival clues, other clues, but also other networks that help us a lot. And, you know, as you recall, we talked about a couple folks from the crew, you know, Robert Podewells, Thomas Wong.
Right.
But, you know, we got a special guest here. So I want to introduce you to David Wong, his great
Nice to
uncle
meet you.
Hi, nice to
Thomas
meet you.
Wong is part of the crew.
Okay, and how are you related to Thomas?
Right, so I'm the grandnephew of Thomas.
Okay.
I understand, you know, your relative served as well on the same exact
my
plane.
uncle, yes.
Your uncle and great uncle
Right.
are here side by side in this photograph of the crew.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's been an honor. I've been learning a little more history about this, actually through a historian from the 307th Bombardment Group, Jim McCabe.
So your granduncle was on the crew from the beginning.
Correct, right. And I think they actually started serving together as well.
Join the group the same day, join the squadron the same day, join the crew the same day, and fly their 19 missions together. And then ultimately, will be buried together. And have you been to this cemetery?
Actually, my family went to visit several years ago. I didn't understand it at the time, but I'm kind of grateful that we went down there and observed their plot. So
Yeah, so this was news to me today. Did
Right.
not know that they had a separate burial place in Louisville where they were, where the whole team was put together. I think that's rather special.
yes, definitely.
I really also want to give a shout out too to the 307th Bomb Group Association,
Right.
because I think some of these clues out there, the connections wouldn't be possible. And there's another one. I want to invite Tony Kaiser over. This is the Purple Heart, part of our collection, from the 307th Bomb Group Association. Gentleman found it in their attic in North Carolina, wasn't sure what it was,
Right.
got it to the Bomb Group Association. But this is the Purple Heart for Robert Podewells.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Tony, if you wouldn't mind, on the back then is this is a presentation one to the family. You can see the inscription on the back
Right.
for Robert Podewells. So here's Robert right here in the crew. He's another one of the machine gunners
Right.
here on the crew. Really would have served right along your great uncle there. But another kind of personal connection
Sure.
between these three crew members that are perpetually on a mission together.
So the families of the crew members would have received this.
That's right.
One of the great things about the 307th Bomb Association veterans and their families is that we have artifacts like this because of their generosity. And it's a great way to help to continue to tell the story of World War II and to tie these types of things together.
Kind of a pretty neat opportunity to connect three airmen.
Right.
Absolutely.
From the same group.
And
Yeah.
really, it's pretty amazing.
This all started from just one small story, but merging all three of these people together.
Right.
It's just fascinating.
Pretty amazing that you all did a great job on the research. I know a lot more today than I did at the beginning of the day, for sure.
Well, it's an opportunity to honor their service and their sacrifice before they're forgotten. And, this is now something for your families to take forward to honor that. I think the appreciation of the teamwork that must have been involved with these members.
Mhm.
I think if we can help, build those relationships, this is pretty powerful. Thanks, Tony. Thank you for bringing that today.
Absolutely.
Pretty amazing story.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they're part of it. So pretty cool crew. Thanks to be part of it. It's a neat opportunity to try to connect this.
I can share you all the information, and I'm actually writing a report from some of the historical data I've gathered as well, but it's a
I
work in
appreciate
progress.
that.
I can
Yeah.
share that with you.
I would love that. And I would like to thank the World War II Museum staff for all their hard work. They're a team working together, keeping these stories alive,
Yes.
which is important for future generations.
I absolutely appreciate it as well. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're
I've
most
learned
welcome.
so much as well.
Happy to be part of it.
Thank you, Dr. Bell.